Good morning, everybody. My name's Paul Welborn, and this is Faith Baptist Church Sunday School. We are going to be meeting in person tomorrow at 9:45 at Faith Baptist Church, so please join us. But if not, hope you get a blessing from this lesson. We're going to be continuing our study in Genesis, looking at Abraham and Abram and Sarai, which we know as Abraham and Sarah. But we are looking at their continued journey to the land of Canaan that was promised to them by God. And last week we looked at how they left the land of Ur, and they basically, it was in modern day Iraq, and made the trek to, which is now modern day Israel. When they got there, there was a great famine, and so you see Abraham kind of taking things in his own hands as far as planning or what to do next. And so, but fear is a big motivator for us. Fear, that's I think what fear and hunger are kind of tied together as far as some of the biggest motivators for people. But I know for me, it's the fear of what's going to happen, the fear of the unknown, planning for the future, or making sure you have enough. I know for me, I'm an organized hoarder, so part of, I think, that hoarding mentality is making sure I have enough items or things in case the bottom falls out or whatever. I don't know. I think that's almost like whenever people that grew up in the Great Depression and they were affected by that. I think about that 2008, 2009, the economic downturn. I don't know if that's been something that had an effect on me, and as far as just making sure there's enough for backup or whatever. But even things like spiders, like I'm not a big, if I see a snake, it doesn't freak me out. The other day, opened the garage door and there was a snake in the driveway right there at the edge of the garage door, and I just kind of kicked it away with my foot. I thought, okay, it will kind of help keep mice down. It was non-poisonous. But if I see a big spider, I mean, I'll leap 4 or 5 feet vertically in the air and try to get away from it. It's just one of those things. I remember driving one time down Lexington Avenue at night, and a spider dangled from the rear view mirror, and I just about lost control trying to swat the spider, and it disappeared in the darkness, and I quickly drove home. That's one of those things where it's like, gosh, at night, a spider in the car and you don't know where it went? Yeah, that's fearful. So Abraham had been traveling, he and his wife, along with Lot and his caravan. They got to Canaan land. Canaan was having a famine, and so instead of staying there, because God had promised him that land, he decided to flee to Egypt. So let's look, Genesis chapter 12, verses 10 through 13. There was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt and stayed there for a while. Because of the famine and the land, it was severe. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, and this is where Abram's great planning takes effect. Well, fleeing to Egypt was another one of his great plans. And then now this is another one. So he said to Sarai, "Look, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' They will kill me, but let you live. Please say you're my sister, so it will go well for me because of you, and my life will be spared on your account." Great. Women were basically property back then. And so he told Sarah, "Look, say that you're my sister. That way I won't be killed." And then what would happen? What would happen after that? So the Egyptians then take her as one of their wives or whatever. So sure enough, that's what happened. Pharaoh saw her and said, "I want you to be my wife." And I don't know the time frame, or there's not a lot in Genesis that talks about what happened. It's just a few verses. So we'll pick back up in Genesis 17. So basically, when the officials saw them coming, here's some people that are not from Egypt, and here's this beautiful lady, and they were just smitten. And so Pharaoh said, "I want you as my wife." And so she was there in the palace or whatever. So then Pharaoh began to have problems. So verse 17 through 20, "But the Lord struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh said to Abraham, sent Abraham and said, 'What have you done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister, so that I took her as my wife? Now Here is your wife, take her and go. Then Pharaoh gave his men orders about him and sent him away with his wife and all he had. So Pharaoh said, You are causing me such trouble. God has inflicted us with plagues. Why did you do this? And so Pharaoh was so upset with Abram that he sent everything away. He didn't keep any of the riches or whatever that Abram had, because Pharaoh was fearful in this sense that there was going to be continued plagues if he had anything to do with this person. So he said, I want you, your wife, everything to go. And that's what happened. So then, and you think about kind of the ripple effect as far as Abram had and how it affected Sarai and his household and even Lot and others like that. Here they were getting stopped in Egypt, and they were almost all killed because of what had happened. And if God hadn't intervened, there could have been much dire circumstances for them. Who knows? Father Abraham had many sons. Those plans could have vastly changed if Abram's plans had messed things up. I mean, you think about the ripple effect. Genesis chapter 13, verses 1 through 4. Abram went up from Egypt to Negev, he and his wife and all he had, and Lot with him. Abraham was very rich with livestock, silver, and gold. He went by stages from Negev to Bethel, actually I should say it like that, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had formerly been, and the site which he built an altar to the Lord. Abram called on the name of the Lord there. So you have this, what are some obstacles that we have as far as fear? How does that change us in our actions and what we do? And how does it affect other people? Ultimately, Abram at the end had the correct fear, which was the fear of the Lord, and had created a palace or a worship place there in the desert where his tent had been set up before. He was nomadic, he was traveling, but he needed a place to land, which was the place that God had originally said, it is yours. Go move there and populate that land. And so if you know the geography, Abram basically made this big loop to Egypt and then came back to which is now modern day Israel. And he spent, and who knows how long. I mean, traveling was not easy. And so with all the things that had happened with Pharaoh, no telling how long it had been. So it's a fascinating story. We'll go in more depth tomorrow in person, but wanted to share this with you online for those of you who are unable to make it in person. Genesis chapter 12, Genesis chapter 13, fear. Ultimately, the way Abram ends up is having the fear of the Lord. And you have some wonderful things happen after that as far as the appearing of the Lord with Abram there, and along with two other angels. All right. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll see you. Bye.